So Archie, really appreciate you for being here, man. It's a true blessing. And you know, our attendees had the chance to go inward a little bit and explore their own personal values. And when I think of my own personal values and, you know, what I believe in, a lot of that stems from my family, right? And we talked a little bit, you know, a few weeks ago before the event. You know, you were kind of sharing with me your journey a little bit as well. And I'm curious to know, you know, what values were instilled in you at a young age from your mother as well as your grandmother, and how did that translate into your ventures?
Oh yeah,
both
man.
Wear Brims and brainlove. Yeah.
Yes. So, context, like you said, my first company was called Wear Brims. It was built on the principles of my grandmother. My grandmother passed away from cancer when I was in college, my sophomore year. I went to the illustrious Tuskegee University. And from there, it sparked a change in me, right? Realizing that, first and foremost, the people that you love so much are not always going to be here, right? So how do we pour into ourselves, but take from them and pour into ourselves to be able to highlight them and who they are, right? So as I articulated and graduated and went into my corporate career, I realized that that wasn't for me. And as I started my first company, it was centered around making sure people felt confident in who they are as an individual, right? We really talked about confidence. At that time, hats, fedoras, I'll say that. Fedoras was a hat that was only seen in like churches, right? It wasn't fly, you know what I'm saying? You only seen your granddaddies and your grandmas with the big hats in church and things of that nature. We wanted to redefine that. We wanted to take that core element that you saw Malcolm X in the 60s and the 70s, where it was fly, right? In Harlem and Brooklyn and all these amazing curated spaces, and really have a modern, hip, streetwear approach to it. So we created Wear Brims. Wear Brims was a concept of that, but poured back from being truly who you are and really pointing to yourself and not caring about what nobody else thought about you, right? So that's my first venture. So to kind of answer your question, my grandmother and my mom poured into me of just being yourself and being confident, not giving a fuck about whoever else cares about you. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times with social media and everything going on right now, it's hard, right? Is that you have so much coming at you. You know what I mean? Like, we're downloading so much information over and over again that's not truly who we are. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't have people around you. I'm from the east side. You know what I mean? So a lot of people from where we are, we don't get to see multi-million dollars, people that have money and things of that nature. So you don't get abreast to that information, that download. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was always good to have my mom and my grandmother pour into me of like just being a good person, right? And being confident in themselves and never folding. You know what I mean? So I think that was something that really that's been poured in me from my family.
I love that. I think, you know, I love talking about just childhood and upbringing because I really think it shapes the picture for where you are in your journey today.
Right.
And I really resonated with you when you're talking about your mom and, you know, how your grandmother instilled certain things into you. And for me, you know, specifically, my grandmother, my mom, before she passed away, were huge just champions of me as well. And I think you mentioned something that really stuck with me was that confidence aspect of it, right? Because before you can go and take on the world, the main people that should be pouring into you should be the people at home. Right. They should be the ones letting you know that you can go out and conquer the world, accomplish your dreams. And sometimes people don't have that foundation rooted at home to know that where their true power lies. So I just appreciate you for sharing that. And, you know, we talked about mom a little bit, we talked about grandma, but we can't ignore our fathers, right? And I think if you're comfortable with kind of getting into that, right? I feel like your understanding of mental health really started at a young age with your father, right? So can you talk a little bit about how did he shape your understanding of mental health?
Yes. So my father had a mental breakdown when I was 2. So he walked out on me and my mom on the east side, right across the street from Redan, in those apartments. If you're from the east side, you might know what it is. That was, I'll say, I don't remember, but I'll say that was a tough period for my mother, right? Where we were getting evicted at that time period. You know what I mean? So for her, she didn't have a lot of time to pour into herself. You know what I mean? So I say that because my mother never spoke ill about my father, right? So I always give her so much a testament to that because you know how, you know, sometimes mothers can be very hard and demanding, which my mom is. But my mother knew the importance, even though I didn't have a strong relationship with my father, she knew what that meant, like just going forward into in the future, right? And me having that perspective around that, didn't really understand what mental health was, even during that time period, even as I navigated college, even if I navigated after post, you know what I mean? Like, didn't really understand what that looked like, honestly, until like maybe 7 years ago. Because we don't really talk about the trauma of what our parents go through, and what their parents go through, and what their parents go through, right? So like, we don't talk about it and really understand, how can I understand truly what my father went through, right? So I kind of speed it up as I started to go through therapy and try to identify my struggles, because I struggle with my faith because of my father. I struggle with a lot of things because of my father, even though my mother spoke very well about him. But it also hurt me too, because I didn't understand, like, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of confused on, like, you talking amazing about him, like he was this amazing guy, suave, fly, like, you know, he's really me, you know what I mean? So it's like, it was confusing at times, because I was confused of like, okay, if this man was so great, like, why is he not here with me? You know what I mean? So I think that hurt for a long time as I navigated my space to understand. But after the failure of my business, I won't say failure, but like the end of my business, I had to pour back into myself to figure out, and that was one thing I had to fix, to figure out what my true issue was with my father. You know what I mean? And as I navigated that space, I realized that it was okay. It's okay to love him and also hate him at the same time. Two things can be true, you know, but you also have to identify what those things are. And if you can identify what those things are, you can move forward, you know? And my therapist told me, she's like, a lot of times we're making decisions based off of the person, not based off of who we are and what we want. So I had to make a decision based off of what I wanted, not what my father wanted. And for example, when I got married, my father came, and when I saw him for the first time, cried, all that shit. And I told my therapist I wasn't crying because I was happy he was there. I was crying because he could not have been there, and I would have been okay. And that's when I realized, like, damn, like, I'm good, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's power in understanding and realizing that it's okay to acknowledge that you are hurt and you can move past that. You know what I mean? But we kind of have to make that decision to move past it. You know what I mean? So, but also it takes community, right? It took my mother speaking highly of him. You know what I'm saying? It took me taking the time to say, hey, I need to really fix this. Because if I want to be the best father and I want to be the best whatever, I have to fix this now before I get to that next phase in my journey. You know what I mean? So my father he is me and I am him. You know what I mean? And I have to acknowledge that, and it's okay to acknowledge. And I've come to gripes with it that we probably will never have a relationship, but it's okay. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with that.
You touched on a lot. I will say that. Man, I think I loved a lot of what you talked about, because for me, you know, my relationship with my father hasn't always been the best. He's done what he could to provide and for our family, but sometimes that emotional side of it, you know, was almost neglected. But I realized that I have to show grace regardless, because sometimes that's just the way that you were raised, and you're raising us the way that you were raised, and you just don't know any better.
Right, exactly.
Right, and like you talked about, it's like that repeated cycle that we're in of trauma, and that's why it's important for us and what we're doing. That's why I love the work you're doing, because it's like now we're the shift in our generation, because we're unlearning, we're doing the internal work, we're doing the healing. So when we do have kids, they don't have to go through the same things that we go through. So I appreciate just the vulnerability of you really leaning into that a little bit. So we talked about, you know, your initial understanding of mental health, right? So Wear Brims was your first venture. It was pretty successful, and you had to take a step back from the company. Talk about how that time away from Wear Brims shaped your understanding of mental wellness, because the two are different.
That shit was hard as shit, but I think that let me tell a story before I get into that. So I do Muay Thai, and a couple days ago, fighting a pro fighter, got hit in the stomach, almost buckled, didn't buckle. Hit him, he buckled, and that ended. Okay, I say that to align back to that is that we all gonna go through periods in our life where we may buckle. You may get hit in the mouth, you may get hit in the stomach, and you may feel it. You be like, yo, I think I'm about to go down. But we all have the ability and the power to take that deep breath and say, nah, I'm not about to buckle. So I use that as an analogy because in that period where I felt hurt, I felt betrayed, I felt a lot of feelings in my body and my soul. You know what I mean? But I think that, like you said earlier, if we believe in a higher God, a higher spirit, there's always a journey for us all, you know, at the end of the day. And community plays a major role of how confident you stay, how motivated, how inspired you stay. And that's hard too, because not everybody has that. I am blessed because my squad is like top notch. Not everybody has that, and I know that. So I have so much gratitude for that because my brothers stay with me, my homies stay with me, my wife stay with me, like my mom, like all stay with me in that period where I felt lost, felt depressed, didn't know what was next to me, right? So for me, it was just like really taking a step back to work on my relationship with my father, whatever that was gonna be, work on myself and work on my spirituality, right? I struggled on that because I grew up Muslim, my grandparents were Christians, so I struggled with that balance of both. My dad had a mental breakdown because of Nation Islam. So like my mind was just like, I don't know. So I had to fix that, alone my father, alone myself. And then from there and identifying that fix and really identify like who I want to be and what my purpose is, God gave me the gift of what I was able to create. I didn't create it, let's be honest. God created it.
It ain't you driving this shit.
it ain't me. I'll just be real. Let's say that shit. Because I literally created the company in 2 months. And not saying I ain't talented, but I will give that all to him because the space I was in, it just happened so quickly. You know what I mean? So from building a company in 2 months to launching to doing our first pop-up in Bloomingdale's to doing so much more stuff. You know what I mean? So only God can move things like that so fast. Now, I am a vessel of that. You put the work in, you make it happen, you do what you need to do, you use your relationship, you use your resources. That's all part of the work. But me believing in that this is something bigger than me, which allowed that to foster what it was.
Let's lean into that a little bit, right? Because I'm pretty sure that was a time of just uncertainty for you, trying to figure out what was next. But how did you pull inspiration from that time of uncertainty, maybe feeling lost? Wait. How did you pull from that time of just uncertainty, you know what I mean, probably lack of clarity on your direction of your journey, you know, to kind of help you in that process?
I was just open. I got to a period where I felt open. Like I wasn't like, oh, I'm about to create a brand or a fashion brand. Like I was just open to receive, honestly. I went to Mexico City. Mexico City sparked a lot of inspiration for me. But I ain't gonna sit here and fucking make up some shit. Like that shit was just flowing. I'm just gonna be real. Like it was just flowing. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm about to just, I want to create brainlove and I wanted to be this and that. Like I knew what the message was. I knew what the message wanted to be. But also I knew it wanted to be fly. So for me, I knew those things were two key components that I needed to align to. You know what I mean? And then from there, it just started to just flow. My mind started to flow. I started to create. I had a little setback where, so we had created, so originally the name was supposed to be Brainchild. It was supposed to be Brainlove. So we had created a CAD, a take packs, everything for the name Brainchild. We were having a conversation with Complex about doing some things with them. And they came back to me saying we love the concept and the idea, but there's also another brand called Brainchild. So now I'm like, shit, like, okay, God, like, all right, like, what you want me to do now? So literally I took a step back. And one thing I've realized in this journey of entrepreneurship is that you have to be calm and still, like you said earlier. You can't let your emotions and your ego get in the way of where you're trying to go. I know that's what people say, you hustling, grinding, you gotta work hard. It's just like, when you're building something, you gotta have the space to receive. You know what I mean? Because I'm a firm believer, I'm just gonna be real with y'all, like, I'm a firm, really quality over everything. If you're not producing quality or creating quality or producing quality products, it's just like, it's no purpose in my opinion. Because in my opinion, from a business perspective, you wanna create the best product for your customers at the end of the day. Like, I don't want to create guilt. No, if you make guilt insurance, no, this is no tea to you. But for me, my job is to make sure that we're giving the best quality product to our consumers and our customers. So for me, it was important to focus on that. You know what I mean? So from that period, it was like, yo, okay, I gotta change the whole name. Okay, I just did a trademark and everything around this thing. You know what I mean? So, but God is He's testing me. That's how I looked at it. He was testing me. He's like telling me, all right, cool. Well, you want to do it again, so let's see how bad you want to do it again. So we end up, the name love came into this place. I was like, all right, brainlove, cool, and we just kind of rolled with it.
I feel like in business, names are very important.
Yes.
How did that name come to be? Talk to us a little bit more what that means to you. Like, what is brainlove?
The whole concept around brainchild was to be a child in your mind, to be a child again. Because if you realize that creativity for a child is 1,000% higher than who we are as adults. When we get older, we relinquish that. Like, forget about the child side of us. The child side of us allows us to be us, right?
Thanks.
There's no barriers.
God tells us to be like children.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no barriers when you're creating, when you're a child. But when we become adults, it's like we got all these blocks and stuff like that. We got to do this because of this. We got to do that because of this. Like, oh, on social media, they say we can't do this. It's like, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? And that's the whole perspective of what I was thinking about brainchild was like, yo, like, I want our customers to feel like kids again. You know what I mean? But I still wanted to, because I had to change the name, I still wanted to feel that way. So I was listening to a Warren Buffett interview, and he was just talking about loving yourself and loving your mindset. Your mindset and who you are allows you to get to the money. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, loving your mind, loving who you are, loving your brain, wanting to evolve, being the best version of yourself, all of these things come together as one. So our tagline we always say is like, your evolution starts with you. In order for you to be the best version of yourself, can't nobody else do that shit but you. Now you can have people in your corner, you can have people that love you, have people that respect you, that want to inspire you and motivate you. I can have a homie come to you right now and say, you're the best person, the flyest artist in the world. I can tell you that, but you gotta believe it. You know what I'm saying? So like, our perspective is to get people to understand, like, we can achieve truly what we want to achieve in whatever career or aspiration that you have, but you gotta do that shit. Ain't nobody else gonna do that shit but you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I have realized that if I want to make an impact, and I realized too, like, even coming from the east side, man, you see a lot of talented people, but a lot of people don't get a chance to make it out. You know what I'm saying? Because of the situation, them not being aligned or being aware of what's going on in life. Honestly, just not being aware. People make the wrong decisions because they're not aware of their circumstance, or aware of who they are, and aware of people around them. You know what I mean? So for us, that's our purpose.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I want to lean a little bit more into like the business side of things a little bit, right? Like,
my favorite.
So what is branding and why is it a key component to business?
I think branding is the identity of who you are as a company and a brand. I think that it's important for you to really curate and cultivate that experience of how you want to show up for your customers in your community. You know what I mean? I think that's why I talk about, like, for me, everybody else may have their own perspective, but branding is not just how you show up, it's how the product shows up as well. You know what I mean? Because if I see it, that's one thing, but if I touch it, that's another. But if I feel it and I believe it, that's another. You know what I mean? So I want you to feel all that shit. I want you to look at that shit fly. I want you to touch it, be like, oh, that's the best quality product. That shit better than Louis Vuitton. I want you to feel it like, oh, I care about you. We care about you as a customer, and I want you to believe it. You believe in us, and you believe what we're capable of. You know what I mean? So our main focus, even when it comes to branding, like, we're very intentional. Like, our main thing when we first started was programming, like working with nonprofits, working with organizations that are connected to the mental health and mental wellness. Like, because at the end of the day, the nonprofits are the one to do the work. You know what I mean? Like, that's important. But also, to you said about the policy, that's important as well. So for us, it's making sure we connect to policies, local governments, things of that nature on that side, right? But making sure we're pairing those things together so people respect us. Because what happens in fashion is that, especially now, people are changing. Their minds are changing on how they shop and how they connect and how they buy products now. You're seeing a lot of brands now have a lot of more meaning and missions behind their brand. You're seeing even luxury brands kind of bring in another curation of how they're telling stories. Like everybody's telling stories now. Like for example, Mama Year does a great job of taking the hood and making it inspiring, like coming out the hood but being amazing and being, you know, progressive and things of that nature. You know what I mean? We all like stories. We all like pull your boots up type stories. You know what I mean? But for us, we want to tell stories in a way where it's just like we know where you come from, we know who you are. You know what I mean? So the way we brand is connecting back to how we want people to feel and how we want people to connect with us.
Storytelling is important.
Yeah,
like I think it helps, you know, develop that emotional connection because we're emotional beings. So you
Right.
want to tap into those different senses.
Right.
And I think, you know, just Brainlove's mission and what it stands for is like this. The mission speaks for itself. You guys have placements in Bloomingdale's. You've been able to sell out in that space as well, right? Talk to us about that process because they're not just working with anyone.
Right.
So can you kind of talk about, you know, how do you feel like just your branding and the mission and the story of Brainlove kind of contributed to that as well in alignment with Bloomingdale's values too?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, first and foremost, is creating the best product. I think I do consulting to a couple brands, and my main thing with them is always telling them, you got to create the best product. Stop trying to correct these 5, 6 SKUs, and you can't really invest all your energy and your love into that, all 6, especially because, let's be real, like when you're creating a brand for the first time, you ain't got all the cash you need, so you're only limited to what you can produce and what you can correct, even from a service perspective as well. You know what I mean? So for me, we had 3 SKUs. We had a hoodie, a t-shirt, and a hat. We wanted them to be the best 3 products you can have in the world. Even when we went to Bloomingdale's for the first time, they're like, you ain't got no more SKUs? Nope. No, we got 3. And he's the best. He's killing Louis Vuitton's, killing All Saints, killing everybody that's in here. You know what I mean? But it's also, if you're gonna believe it, it gotta be reflective of it too. A lot of times people believe it, but the product's not a reflection of that belief. It can't be that. Because at the end of the day, I can't sell you a shirt and I'm talking about it's the best product, but you get it and it's tearing the next day. Like that doesn't help you. It don't help your branding. It doesn't help how you storytell. It doesn't help who you are as a brand. So for me, that was the first thing. Like we made sure like that shirt we made for the first time was the best shirt that we can make. And it worked. Like when we went to Bloomingdale's for the first time, we sold out. Our first pop-up with Bloomingdale's. You know what I mean? So from there, for me, it's being consistent now. Now I show value. I show that I can create a product. I show these things. Now I need to be consistent because they don't need me. So that's when you got to remove the ego from it. And even for me, I came from a company where we was in Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, and Saks. So I like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know what I do. I do this very well. But I had to remove my ego because at the end of the day, this is a different business, different company. So for me, it's being consistent. It's following up. I was just talking about this to my homeboys. Like a lot of times in corporate, they tell you, oh, only follow 3 times. Nigga, follow as many as you want to. Because you want to get that deal done, it ain't, until they tell you no, it's free for all.
Urgency.
It's free for all. Like, don't tell people that you need to be followed 1, 2, 3 times. No, like, you follow up until they tell you no. That's what I did with Bloomingdale's. Like, I emailed them had on cadence, 3 weeks. Hey, okay, y'all see I love the product. What's next? Okay, cool. We want to do another pop-up with you guys. Okay, cool. But also, it's not letting your ego get in the way. I'm gonna tell y'all a story. So, when we came into Bloomingdale's, we weren't the only brand that was there. There were like 3 to 4 other brands. Not really in the name, but one of my other brands, we were talking. It's like, man, I'm tired of these pop-ups. I feel like they should be just buying a product. Like, this program is supposed to be help amplifying us. And he makes sense. But at the same time, it's just like, you got to also understand it's a business. And retail right now is a little funky. Not every retail company is doing very well. You got retail companies closing down. You got retail companies going bankrupt right now. A lot of companies are going bankrupt right now. So like you can't just expect just because you sell some products, you're supposed to be automatically in there. You know what I mean? So for me, I told him, I said, bro, like just stick in there. I'm trying to tell you, if you leave, it's not gonna be a good move. He made his decision and he left. But me, stayed put. Stayed there. We did like 3 pop-ups, Then we ended up doing a trunk show. This was like a year and a half of doing this with them. And then we eventually got the call and said they want to bring us in full time, right? So for me, it's important for y'all to understand that whenever business or career that you're in, it's just being consistent, but also being faithful. If you have a good product, you have a good community, people love the product, people are showing up for the product, you'll eventually win. It might not be on your time, but you'll eventually win.
I love that. I love that. You have an upcoming sneaker release on the way, right, with Mark Nolan, and the theme of the shoe is very powerful. Step into your purpose, right? What does that mean, and what advice would you give to our guests for getting started in their purpose and taking that leap of faith? Yeah,
man, so I was looking at this, this came after the name, but this it correlates. I was looking at this podcast with Emma Grande, which is she's the co-founder of Skims and the co-founder of Good America. And she said something pretty profound. She basically said that a lot of times people say your purpose should be something you find. But she was just like, man, like, what if we connect our purpose back to what we do great? And I thought that was super dope because my purpose, it naturally happens. It's something I do very well in. But it is my purpose, and I connected something that I love, which is connected back to my family and how I grew up, which is mental wellness and mental health, right? But also pairing it to something I love, which is fashion, which is my purpose, right? If I say all that, I think the whole purpose, the thought process behind the shoe is we have to step into our purpose every single day. Why? Because life is hard. There's been times when you gotta pay your bills, you hustling. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may be working a 9 to 5, but you don't want to be there. You know what I mean? Like, you may be full-time entrepreneurship, but you ain't getting no check. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things happen in your life that's going to constantly happen regardless of what dreams or aspirations that you're trying to get out there. So, like, we have to continue to stay faithful in that journey, which aligns back to, like, truly stepping into who we are and stepping into who we are in our purpose. You know what I mean? So when I named the shoe, I want people to understand, like, we all have a purpose. You know what I'm saying? But you can't find that purpose without God or whatever you believe in. You know what I mean? And I'm a testament of that shit. Like, God's been guiding this journey every step of the way. Like, literally. Like, from meetings to partnerships to relationships, everything in this life fall into play because I'm allowing Him to direct. I literally, one of my homies just hit me about something with the fourth. I literally wrote the fourth down doing something with them like last week. And all of a sudden, my homegirl that used to work in the gathering spot is working with them now. So, like, this shit don't happen just because. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's me. I literally text like, yo, that's crazy that you text me about the fourth, because I literally just talked about wanting to create a program with the fourth. You know what I mean? So I'm a firm believer that God is a steward of everything, and if you can believe in yourself and believe what your purpose is and how you can truly make an impact, I think you can make something happen. So I'll say, like, you know, for you guys, man, like, first and foremost, find that thing that, if you are an entrepreneur, I'll speak for entrepreneurs first. If you are an entrepreneur, find that product that people love and invest into that one thing. Make that one thing the best product. Because it's gonna be stressful when the product is not good and you're gonna be wondering why people are not buying it. And now you're not being honest with yourself. Because honest, let's be real, your friend's not gonna be honest with you. They don't want to hurt your feelings. Most friends. Now, if I'm your friend, I'm gonna tell you that the shirt's not good. But that's just me. But not everybody's gonna be like that, because people respect for your feelings. You know, this is how it is. Like, we're humans at the end of the day, so we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings in their energy and things of that nature, right? But I think it's up to us to make that decision and really pay attention. It's too much information out there for you to create not a good product. And I'm a firm believer on that. Like, I tell Alita, I had a client come in. She's like, "Oh, I love this product." I was like, "Yo, the shoe is breaking apart. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why would I buy this?" What you mean? Like, no, I have to be honest with you, because the goal of building a company, this is me, everybody else's perspective is different, is to be $1 million brand. I think we have to start changing that perspective and really diving into what a company and building a company is for. Of course, we have purpose, we have all these things, but once you start to generate cash and flow, you are a business. Now you're living, and your life is dependent on that business. Your family is dependent on that business. So it's my car was, what is your responsibility to your own life? My responsibility is to make sure that I'm producing the best company. Like I don't consider myself a designer. I'm a CEO. You know what I'm saying? Because I think also I give respect to designers. I'm not a cut and sew guy. I'm a visual guy. But I think for me, this time around, I'm focused on making sure we're crafting and building an actual business and making sure that my goal is exit in 7 years. That's my goal. So 7 years, you'll see me on Forbes. For real. But I'll say all to say this is that, man, like, go after your dreams, man. Like, don't let anybody get in the way of your dreams. Have the right people in your corners. Because that's key. Like, if you don't have people in your corner to keep you motivated, keep you inspired, it will be hard and difficult because you will get in your own head. You know what I mean? So my piece to y'all, man, like, continue to pour into yourselves. Like, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you joyful, it starts there, right? Being confident in yourself, not letting anybody get in the way of what your dreams, aspiration is, even from a corporate perspective. Like, you want to be a VP, the shit's there. You just gotta get it. Like, it may not come when you want it to come, but it's there for you. If you're doing the right work, you're doing the work, you're putting in the work, you're connecting, you're building, you keep creating relationships, that time will come for you, and you're asking for it, and you're doing, and you're being a good steward of that space. I think that anybody and everyone can accomplish their goals, but it's really up to us to make that happen.
That was powerful. That was powerful. I want to now, open it up to y'all. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. Make sure you stand up, introduce yourself, and then, yeah.
Start here. What's going on, man? Pharaoh Tyreek, Our Business Matters. As soon as you said your name of your first brand, that's when I began to recognize you. I do a lot of research on the Black community as far as the business economics, and I definitely remember, seeing your face, with that brand associated to it. So, congratulations on moving on to a new brand.
Appreciate that.
I want to know, what is the most needed role in your company that you're building to get to that 7-year goal that you have?
So we are focused right now on branding. We have some missing gaps like I said, being honest with yourself, we have some missing gaps right now within our branding and our core message, just to make sure people understand who we are. Right now, we got a lot of buzz happening, but it's honestly happening because of the product. I want people to make sure they understand who we are as a brand as well. So, like, we're bringing in an advisor right now where she's going to be over our branding to help us not rebrand, but redefine who we are as a brand, right? So that's one. And then the second thing, we're bringing in our head of design, creative director, that's going to be over all design, all creativity around that, and how we push out our designs and create messaging around it. So those would be the two main things that we bring in. From there, it'll probably be production. From production, it'll be probably social media. And then from social media, it'll probably just be maybe assistant.
We could definitely help out with that with OBM.
Okay.
How y'all doing? I'm Joshua Woodstein.
What's up, man? How are you?
I want to say that I want to thank you for being vulnerable today, especially with the context of mental health. Growing up, my parents were divorced at a very early age, around 2. I didn't really understand it, but you saying that your mother having such good words of your father and making sure that you were able to kind of keep a positive image of him through hard times as a kid, where it's not really like your fault or anything like that. I felt heard because my mother also did the same thing, where she wouldn't really talk bad about my father, even though they bickered and argued, and I heard it, whenever they were together or, one-on-one when they were talking to me, they always respected each other. Kind of like keeping that sentiment of it takes a village to, raise people, heal people, regardless of the hardships that my father raised when he was growing up, and my mother as well. Just seeing someone as successful as yourself, something with the same similar aspect of mine of just having a woman just be very positive mindset in ways where a man maybe have troubled them,
right.
And keeping that high spirit of the the offspring or your kid is important. Sure. It made me feel very heard, healed, things like that.
No, for sure.
And just seeing someone as successful as you is really inspiring.
No, I appreciate it. And I want to say this, man. For y'all guys, bro, women are very powerful. I think we as men need to make sure we acknowledge that as well, because I think even my mom has had her own trauma, and she has been able to suppress that for so long, where she had a buckle most recently that she had to work through. You know what I mean? So I think women go through so much, bearing children, that comes with a lot. You know what I mean? So for me, as I've grown and really like understood that perspective of like my mom, like raising 3 single kids, you know what I mean? Like that's a very powerful thing, hard thing to do. You know what I mean? So I just want to say that for the ladies, you guys are very powerful. So I just want to let y'all know that.
Hey, my name is Chuka Okiki, or you can pronounce it Okeke. And my question is, do you have any influencers that you might be looking to work with? Like any type of athletes or just anything you think about?
Yeah, for sure. So full transparency, we don't work with influencers. The reason why is that we want to just make sure we're building an authentic brand and not influencing anyone. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, based on if someone is connected to the mental wellness space and they're aligned to the space, we'll of course have a conversation around that, but we're not like out looking for influencers. That's not something, of course, everybody's doing it, don't get me wrong, but for us, we just want to be very intentional. Like, we're creating something a little different than most brands. Like, I like to say that we are the cooler version of Patagonia mixed with KIF and ALD. So that kind of puts it into perspective. We want to create a brand that's very accessible to our consumers and our customers, but dope and fly. And we tell dope stories and we do dope things. So like, you'll see us doing parties, you'll see us doing stuff like this, working with nonprofits, doing conversations. We actually have we're working with Atlanta Fashion Week for Atlanta Fashion Week, and we're doing something at the retreat at the where LOA used to be on the rooftop, where we're talking about business and fashion with a couple other dope brands. So I'll definitely make sure you guys know about that as well. But right now, it's being very intentional on how we're communicating who we are as a brand. It's making sure that people know that we care about them. We're not trying to create this facade or trying to use mental health as a way to bring people in. Like, we really, really are aligned and really want people to see value in a cool path. And I like to say it like this, like, if you want to get to the money, your mindset is gonna get you to the money. Like, sometimes I never understood why people like shy away from what makes them better. You know what I mean? Like, we look up to all these athletes and these actors and things of that nature. They're doing things to make them better. And that's not just practicing or putting up shots in the gym. That's their mentality, how they show up, how they communicate, how they show up for their families. You know what I mean? Like, even for myself, I have my own routine. I've been battling my own routine for the longest because I told myself when I was an entrepreneur, I'm gonna wake up when I want to wake up. But it's like also realizing that, you know, you have to create a routine so that you can get things done. You know what I mean? I meditate, I have affirmation prayer, I pray like for an hour. That's like my first thing I do when I wake up in the morning to get my mind right. You know, and then I'm gonna tackle in the day. You know what I mean? So I think that if you want to be successful, if you truly want to be successful, you will do the necessary things to become successful. And that's not just working. That's doing anything that creates a better mindset to get things done. Because like I said, even as you're hustling, as you're grinding, life is still happening. So what happens when something happens where you lose your job and now you're full time? So are you gonna go back, or what you gonna do? So that's something you got to be prepared for, because that's just, life still happens as you're building a business or as you're going up that ladder in corporate. Like, things are gonna happen. What happens when someone gets that promotion over you? You're gonna be mad and you're gonna yell at your manager? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes that happens because people let their emotions get in the way of their, you know, what happens if you communicate with your husband or your wife and you mad and you call them or whatever, versus controlling your mindset and your emotions and having a conversation. So all these things we can't control. We just have to put the tools in play to prepare ourselves to be able to control it.
Any other questions? Sure, go ahead.
My name is Paula Smith. I started a nonprofit nonprofit titled Peak Frequency, and it's Peak stands for promoting education, ability, and knowledge. The goal is to help students with learning disabilities and their families get the services that they need, both socially and academically, especially socially, and then tracking them as they get older to make sure students with learning disabilities, whether that's autism or dyslexia, they also have a chance to like go up in the world. That's why we're trying to help them reach their peak. My question is, when you have a service and it's not really a product, how do you market your brand when it's something that you can't really hand out to people immediately?
Right.
That's going to take time for them to believe and also see the work of, hey, this is working, this is helping my child, this is helping me, even though we're not giving you something like immediate. It's going to take time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what advice do you give for brands, like, starting from the bottom? I'm sorry guys, but I started this in June.
Okay. And
marketing to school systems that's already failing them, and they're not seeing it, or they don't want to get too involved because of lawsuits and stuff.
Right.
But keeping it pushing.
Right.
You know what I mean? We striving, but what would be your advice?
I mean,
service.
So what I look at is, you know, where is the customer, right? So the parents are the customer in my mind, right? Maybe it's the Boys and Girls Club. Maybe it's the YMCA. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like, 'cause to your point, like the school systems can be a little bit like, I don't know yet, but maybe it's going into local recreation centers and pitching the concept to them and pitching the concept to kids. I'm sure you can speak on it from a nonprofit perspective, but I look at business as business, right? When you're creating a product, your goal is to find where your customers are, right? So for me, I'm going to do a pop-up at a streetwear market, right? Because I know that's where my customers are. Or I'm going to do an event where wellness people show up. Or I'm going to go where people are focused on their success. You know what I mean? That's where I'm going to go. So I think for you, it's finding where are the parents that need help, right? I'm sure there's nonprofits that probably maybe already have. Maybe it's collaborating with another nonprofit, right? And y'all, maybe they do something else and you do something different. And coming together and being able to take some of the helping them, you know what I mean? But also it's relationships too. You know what I mean? So the reason why you're probably struggling, because I think most times when you're going after from an education perspective, they don't know you. It's like they don't trust you, right? So how can you find a relationship that can vouch for you in the work that you do, so you can get up in that room? You know what I mean? So like everything I've done based off relationships. You know what I'm saying? How do you put yourself in a room where the nonprofits are, the decision makers are? Like, where they at? I know they at the gathering spot. I see them all the time. You know what I mean? The mayor's there all the time. You know what I mean? Like, how do you connect with these individuals that are making the decisions to put you in a better position, to put your business or your service in a better position? So I would say that, like, I would just list all the different recreation centers in your area, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. These places need help. You know what I'm saying? They need places. Or even, like, the schools that are not really associated with, like, DeKalb County or Atlanta, like KIPP, Collegiate. You know what I mean? Like, find those type of schools, or like your private schools, or schools that are like what's the other type of school where they are like Brian Clark, like those type
charter
of
schools.
Yeah, the charter schools where they got more control. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I would do.
I want to pick back off of that too, and to help you with that also, to use that advice, create a strong testimony. Like,
Yeah, that's too.
Social proof of like, hey, we did this for this one kid, and this is how we affected them. And then you'll be able to pitch that to everybody. Like a commercial. That's what the purpose of commercials are.
I think of building like a portfolio, like a book, like just a physical data as well. Because sometimes they maybe want the child to be private. So you have like the data, like the age, this, of course, like not disclosing the child, but having